Sou Abraham, da AK Food, de Israel, que é uma plataforma de IA, e ele vai explicar um pouquinho o que é, e também vamos falar alguma coisa de uma parceria que nós estamos fazendo. So, please take your stage. We are going to run first the video, and then so you make the presentation. First, Leandro, vídeo primeiro.
I've been working on artificial intelligence for more than 20 years. With my brother Alex, we are identical twins. We've been working together for many years.
He was actually the one who brought me to AK Foods, both as an investor and technical advisor. He's the chief scientist, or as we like to call him, our chief magician.
I was already interested in the broader societal impact of such projects. I think we all want to have cheaper, healthier food, but is less impactful on the planet. And we can actually give him a call and ask his view on this project.
I see food as an art, and it has this unique subjective component that is very difficult to put into exact scientific terms. The food industry can be surprisingly high-tech and at the same time also incredibly low-tech. Bridging that gap, this is something that sounded like a very interesting challenge. What AK essentially brings to the market is a new type of a syntax, if you will, a language for food, creating AI agents that are capable of connecting to different external sources of data and then making recommendations on how to improve the recipe. Something that a generic AI model like ChatGPT will never be able to achieve.
So the AK platform integrates AI throughout. We have an AI component that is separate, but the proprietary data of the company is used as an input to AI, but it never leaves the premises of the customer. So it is not fed into some kind of cloud and then shared and available with other competitors. AK Foods, it's a very special project. It challenges probably decades old, if not centuries old, paradigms in how we think of designing new foods. And probably for the first time in the history of humankind, we have a machine that starts taking the creative part of this process. With the help of AI, we can radically change this industry.
What is really unique about AK Foods is it is a marriage between food technologists and computer scientists working together. This is something that can completely transform the industry. It can make it achieve better, healthier, cheaper, ethical, and tastier foods.
Okay, so the movie said it all, and I can go. All right. Just firstly, departing from my presentation, I'm struck, and I guess it's being back in the Southern Hemisphere after leaving the place of my birth in South Africa. But the thing that came to me today is what this interaction that I've seen over the last 2 days reminds me of, Paulo, is the concept of Ubuntu from South Africa. You know, I am because of my community. I exist because of my community. And I can see here very much that same ethos in what Foodtech Hub Latam and your community of food professionals here has brought. And I very much appreciate the opportunity both to partner, but really feel privileged to be here with you and to share the stage. So thank you very much to you all. I think over the last 2 days, and especially yesterday, we were diving into the concepts of AI at a very high level. And what I'd like to do is just bring that down a bit to the ground level and reality. And I wanted to share with you what we're doing at AK Foods, but it'd be great for me just to understand, of those of you that are in the audience today, who is involved in product development and innovation, just by a show of hands, just to get a sense. Okay. I want to ask you, who's excited about AI and what it can bring? Okay. Interesting, about the same amount of hands. who's fearful in some way about what AI means for us as food scientists, as those that develop, those that innovated? Any concerns? Okay, so very fewer concerns. Now, my typical audience puts up a lot of hands around the concerns. But I think those concerns are fear. And I always relate to the fact that when a food scientist or a food technologist is engaged with developing something new and marketing comes in to their office, are they excited or are they fearful of what this brings and what this means and the pressure that's coming? When finance comes in or procurement comes into their office or sits with their team, often that doesn't bring up a sense of joy. And I want to come back to that later. So when it comes to AKA Foods, really what we provide is a software solution for food developers. Yes, it's AI-powered. And at a very simple level, what we're doing is we're bringing together those core building blocks of food formulation, recipes, ingredients, process, sensory, and analytical piece. Importantly, into a tool that has been built from the ground up as something that is food first and AI first. So we have the benefit of doing that by being a relatively young organization of 5 years, as opposed to the organizations that were represented here yesterday, which were 175 years and 250 years. So a different perspective. For those of you that do have some concerns about AI and the implementation of that in the context of R&D and product development, what I can say, given my conversations with you over the past 2 days and with other organizations, other food companies, ingredient companies, and startups, is that you're not alone. I think those frustrations that exist in terms of we have everything digitized, we have systems, we have ERP systems, we have PLM systems, we have many, many Excel sheets and lots of folders and files and PDFs stored all over. But that whole concept of digital transformation and what was promised to us, what we expect, what we want to see, is quite elusive. And I think some of that was shared yesterday by the presenters from the large organizations like Mondelez, like Unilever. As much as they were getting the benefits, there were challenges, there were journeys around data, and that is something that we all need to traverse. I think when I have conversations with folks about AI and R&D and new product development and innovation and what AI can do to support this, what we see is, in fact, one of the biggest concerns is around that tacit organizational knowledge, retaining that. So sometimes it's less about predictive capabilities and more often it's about, well, how do I make better use of the knowledge that I have? Not only in a single lab context, but also in multi-country, multi-stage environments. And finally, coming back to one of my earlier points about product development, increasingly, I'm exposed to audiences or conversations with folks that joined this industry. They went and studied food science, bioengineering, food technology, food engineering, because their goal was to bring new products to the world. Their goal was to be creative, take their scientific and their technological skills and to deliver new products. But in truth, they're spending about 10% of their time being creative and a whole bunch of time dealing with compliance issues, with administration, with chasing information and resources, trying to understand and navigate their organizations and the different labs to get that information. And we really see this time and time again in organizations large and small, that the joy of food product development is a scientific pursuit that has been suspended because of everything around it. And for me personally, that's where I think what AI can contribute into that pursuit, if nothing else, is to make those challenges less tough, to liberate you as scientists so that you can get out there and do your thing. Okay. So in summary, in terms of those challenges that we have, for many of you and for many of the organizations we talk to, R&D information and the building blocks of what you need is very much fragmented and in different forms, different systems. Experiments and your learnings, we kind of end up making the same mistakes again, especially for organizations that have been around 10 decades or even longer. So how do we get past that? How do we inculcate and how do we incorporate and learn from what we know and maintain that knowledge? And very importantly, from a sensory point of view, that very simple, very common practice of coming together the next day around a table to taste what we made the day before, which directs so much of our development strategy and the approach we're going to take. How do we retain that? How do we capture that knowledge so it's not just one person's opinion, but it becomes part of the knowledge base of the organization and something that can objectively inform our next step? And that's something we feel very strongly about. What we can't lose sight of, though, is our shareholders and, at the end of the day, the financial impact and our goals here. So, yes, it's about the joy of developing new food products and liberating us to do that, to be creative, to be effective, to have a positive impact on society. But at the end of the day, what does that mean for us? Well, we need to do things a lot quicker, a lot more cost-effectively. And those are some of the benefits, obviously, that we're now seeing with our customers as they deploy AKA Studio. How it works, 3 core building blocks that bring together knowledge, organizing all of those formulations, ingredients, all of those inputs. This digital workbench, so getting away from pen and paper, getting away from spreadsheets into an environment that is learning with you, and then so importantly, capturing that sensory information in a very effective manner. Layering on top of that AI, okay? So the AI is not there to replace you as the food scientist, but there to elevate your craft, to elevate your science, and to support you along the way. And with all systems, whether you're a large organization or a small organization, crucially, you need to be able to interact between those systems and build on what you already have in place. And that's a key focus for us. Now, the question that I didn't ask and that nobody asked in terms of concerns was around security. And I think that's a key concern that, rightfully so, that folks need to address. The way we approach that on our end, firstly, is we're not training models on your own data as a customer. And this is something we take very seriously. That's not our goal. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in this industry. We really much more see ourselves as the facilitator of your knowledge and providing you the tools to advance. And for those of you that have high security concerns, today, and one of the presentations that we had online yesterday from the Netherlands spoke about offline models, and there's a lot of progress around that too today. So the ability to be able to serve your needs also with tools and agents that are operating offline and in your own private cloud or completely air-gapped. I'd like to give you a peek at what's coming and where this is going. So I said it was important for us to capture information from sensory roundtables. And typically we've approached that with questionnaires built into the platform, ways to capture that information. And we see big moves now towards integrating hardware into AI and being able to take that advance. And this is a new development that is currently being worked on and brought to reality at AKA.
Sensory science has barely changed since the 1950s. The food industry spends billions on R&D every year. And the heart of it, knowing how a product actually tastes, still comes down to a few people sitting around a table, talking, tasting, and trying to remember what was said. That's about to change.
Traditional tasting research is slow and imprecise. A researcher tastes a product, tries to stay articulate across dozens of samples, and writes notes afterwards from memory. We have solved that. A researcher wears these meta glasses, and everything they looked at, everything they say in real time as they taste goes straight into the platform. Nothing is lost, nothing is filtered. This is the next frontier for sensory science. Every comment is attributed. The system knows who said what because the glasses are on their head, not guessed from a microphone in the middle of the room. The exact bar they were looking at when they said it, captured. Consensus builds across the panel as they go. And when someone references a previous tasting, the platform pulls it automatically because the data is already there. "20 minutes ago, this would have been pen and paper, 3 contradictory accounts, and then an argument about which one is correct. Now, it's becoming a brief, which allows us to improve the next iteration."
This is sensory science rebuilt and built into AKA Studio, the platform food companies on 4 continents are already using.
So that's a sneak peek into what's coming, and one last little taste I will leave you with is there've been a lot of discussions, and I think we've had some discussions off stage and out of the panels around the limitations of large language models and that approach. I think that's been addressed. And I think, firstly, I always say that as somebody that is sharing what's happening in food with AI, what I'm also mindful of is the fact that AI, although it's a very hot topic and it's impacting on our lives daily in all aspects, I think we also need to be humble around the fact that for many decades already, a lot of work was done around machine learning, algorithmic work. And so, what do they say? Every overnight success takes a few decades. What we do see, though, is how rapidly these things are advancing. And this is where things are going now. And for us, this is a very important part of what we're doing. So a world model for food ingredients, being able to take those elements and those connections. I always say that food is a multi-dimensional problem that we're solving with multimodal data, and it makes it really challenging to get a sense of all those linkages. And if we look at how people are linking here and connecting and exchanging information, really we want our tools to be able to do that. And one of those approaches that we're taking is building a food world model that provides a knowledge graph and a wiki. So we'll have our own core model at AKA, and our clients will then be able to take their own data, so each client operating on a unique basis, build off that, engage their data with that, and connect those dots, those nodes between things like ingredients, applications, sensory. Importantly, we want to move away from having to go and hunt and peck for documents. We want to be sure that there's confidence that is calculated ongoing around that different information. And it needs to be working on its own, both while we're sleeping, but importantly, while we're going about our day-to-day work and growing. And so that's a very important part of where we're going with this, just to give you a sense of what that will look like in action. So connecting, really exploring the knowledge graph that's been built, and then starting to traverse that is so important. And being able to surface that knowledge and how these interdependencies and how these aspects of food product development are connected. As a simple example here with the potato starch, now being able to dive deep into that knowledge that's available to you as an organization, as a client or as a community, depending on how you build the individual knowledge graphs and how you take that forward. So thank you for your time and attention, and thank you, Paulo.
Thank you very much. I think first I want to say was the finest compliment I heard in the last many years when you linked Ubuntu, the ethos, with the community. Only special persons can sense that. So thank you very much. Second, So and I, ACA Food and Foodtech Hub Latam, you'll be working together to offer ACA Studio solutions to the food industry. Mainly, we want to reach the medium companies in Brazil that has difficult to access innovation in a structured way. Of course, the big companies are welcome, but they have their own tools sometimes. But we are so happy that after I've been looking for a tool that really I could see possibilities in Brazil, and I found through Jonathan Berger. Jonathan was responsible for that, is responsible for that. But when I saw, say, this is very serious. So I'm so happy that we are together in this new journey.